previous episodes, we drew cubes, cylinders, and spheres separately. Now we're going to stack these basic forms together. We started with the cube, and now we're going off the center of the cube with the cylinder. And you can see the dotted line kind of lines it up so it runs straight. The up and down lines on the cylinder are parallel to the cube's up and down lines. If you can keep that all nice and straight, it'll look like it really fits together. Now we're taking the sphere and we're going to apply a cylinder to the sphere. And we're putting it on the bottom. You can see the little dotted line so I can know where I'm attaching it to. We're looking down at this so the top of the cylinder doesn't show up. This shows you how you can stack a cube on top of a sphere. Getting it balanced properly is the trick. You can see the little dotted line is where it's actually attaching to the sphere. It's sort of like a cubicle hat on a person. So now we're going to stack a series of these shapes on top of each other. You can see I put an oval little sketch on the top of that cube. And that helps to make sure it's centered when you put the cylinder up on top. And make sure the cylinder lines are running parallel to the number 2 lines of the cube. The sphere on top of the cylinder, just make sure it's mounted right in the center of the cylinder, and the same with the cylinder on top of the sphere. Make sure that it's centered right in the middle. You can see there's an axis down the middle. Actually, what that's doing is making a symmetry of both sides. And then once you get it all done, you just erase it all, and it should be a cleaned up, nice looking stacking of shapes. Now that we've learned to stack the different basic shapes together, we're going to apply that to more realistic images. And one of the things you have to think about when you're adding, sort of trying to discover a new shape, this one shows how the axes run through the center and along the side of the cube. It comes straight out of the cube. So you've got almost a 90-degree angles that these cylinders are projecting out from. You can see now I've added a wheel onto the one side. So I'm repeating that over on the other side. Little nose on the front of the jet car. And a little place for the people to sit inside. We're going to apply this same principle to a landscape, and I'm trying to show you where the landscape is coming from. You can see this is cylindrical parts. I'm kind of popping in the cylinder once in a while to show you. And now we've got a cube over on this side, but it's just a basic idea of following the logic of the cube or the cylinder. We're stacking one plateau on top of another plateau. Now we're down into the creek bottom there too. Little sphere up on the top there. It's just trying to get a variety of different shapes in a landscape. What makes it look like a real landscape are the details that you put into it. When you can get into the little cliff details, adding trees, some of the spruce pine trees, will start to make this look more like a real landscape. Welcome back to the studio. We're going to take on these 3 basic forms and create something that I'm not even sure what it's going to be myself yet. But we're going to actually stack them together and see what comes out of it. And I hope you will draw along and do the same thing and end up with something totally different than me. You can watch this and then do your own too. All right, so I'm going to just start by basically stacking them. I have a little bit of a thought in mind here, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to stack the cylinder and the sphere, and we'll just start with the fundamental guys here to start with and see what this should be. Straight across. We're using the basic idea, and I'm going to have to go out of ways, but let me just see where this connects, then I'll know that I want it to be way over there. And this is not doing very straight. Okay. And coming off of here, we want it to be about the same distance. To start with, it's going to get much looser as we go along here. But we'll see what we start with. And this should be out a little bit further, like so. All right, so we have a cylinder in here, and I'm going to stack a couple of long skinny guys down here. And get a little depth going there. And same thing here. Let's see, we're going to put it out to the edge here. This would flow through. If I kind of keep it cleaned up as I go along, it seems like it works better. And I'm not going to put anything there yet because I'm going to add on a cylinder back here. And I'm going to slant it. Let's see, there's going to be a cylinder right here. And it's going to go back in space like this does. About to there. And okay, and then we're going to come off of this cylinder with some guys, some cylinders, a couple of them, and maybe try and copy that on the back side, how they would run. All right, and I'm going to add let me put a cube out here. So we're going to have let's see, go back in space like this, straight up and down. It's always nice not to overly name what you're going to create, because then whatever you end up with is right, you see. And you say, oh, that's what I intended all along. So that works pretty good. I'm going to put a couple spheres down here that are for the bottom of these little pedestals here. And I'm going to twist this around one more time, like that, with a cone kind of shape. We haven't overly talked about cones, but they're just a cylinder that goes to a point, is all the cone is about. Let's clean it up a little bit here. And I'm going to round this off from here. Just get rid of some of that squareness, like so. And I'm going to add just some lines here to help you get around the corner. We'll talk about these contour lines later, but that kind of is a good way to make it go down around like this. And then we'll round this off a little bit here, so it makes a little archway in there, and maybe a little archway here too, so that side becomes a little archway. I'm going to tie this right in with this, and so now this is going to flow. We'll just have that line fade out, go back in space there, and this turns into more how it actually attaches and flows together. All right, and I'm going to swing this right into this and put a, let's see, I'm going to enlarge this a little bit, get it up in the air. Seems like it's a little too small of a ball. But I think working with the basic forms like this is really a good way to start with using your creativity and seeing what will come out of it. So we got kind of a, but I'm going to have this so it flows in a little bit more like this. This flows in like that. And up in here, I think it's crowding the eye too much there. I better swing it down a little bit in here. And this could actually go up and design into the ball a little bit more, so it flows like so. And finish that up there. And then I'm going to actually, instead of this being so stiff, I'm going to flow it out like that. So as it looks, you can see it's starting to turn into some kind of a creature. We're not sure quite what all of this is going to do. Maybe it's spider legs or something coming off of this. So it's little spheres here, and then the cylinder's hooking onto the spheres and bending it around, going back in space. So we've got stuff going like that. Let's see, let's have this all joined together. We'll just have that flow together a little bit better in there. We'll leave that line there so the tail sort of separates. And let's, to make this flow a little bit more, let's have this all flow in like that. So it just kind of becomes the clumpy bottom there. All right, so that would flow in like that. It's kind of a lumpy little front that he's got there. And the same thing here. I'm going to swing this out. I think it just would look better if it were swinging into that body a little bit. Okay, and then it's always kind of cool to have, like, I'm going to put a row of cylinders here, and we'll see where this goes. But for a ridge along, let's see where the ridge would be. It'd probably be, let's erase that and get a ridge line going like that. And we'll have cylinders coming out of that. Cylinder there, another one here. So it's just a kind of a creative monster guy. And maybe it's more fun if it actually went out into a shape like that. But we start with the cylinder, and it's like hooks in like so. It's just fun to see what you end up with. And one more here. All right, let's see, then we kind of get that guided correctly. We get around there and see what I've got. Let's see. You know, this I think could be more vicious if we had like cones coming off of this. Coming off forward, and this one coming off like this too. Gives it a little bit more action. Like it could, its claws to protect itself or something. Let's see, we got that off of there. I'm going to do something. This is a little too squared here. I'm going to make this more into a cylinder. Make a cylinder there that swings into that. But I actually do, when I do my own drawings on my spherical paintings and stuff, I use this same kind of technique. So this isn't something I'm just doing for you guys. It's actually my approach as to how I do my creative stuff. And if you ever look at my work, you'll see that I have a lot of strange creatures like this in it too. And a lot of them are created in this way. And maybe a spheres across the top here. And sometimes they turn out, and sometimes they don't. But you have to have courage to try it, you know. Maybe a sphere on the end of this too. Give it a little bit so it looks like it fits with the rest of this. All right, so we need something in here too. And we'll match it up with these other feet. We'll keep it a little more loose. All right, and then it could be that we do a little more of that on the other side too. This kind of would fade into that. And maybe these need little points on them too. I think that added some. And let's see, this little guy here, I think that just should flow like that, would be better. We'd have a little nostril here though. And this, I think, could flow in a little bit more so it doesn't quite have so much of a sphere look to it. And so we're coming along. And touching up here and there. So anyway, that's kind of the approach. And you know, when we get to contour surface lines, some of these kinds of lines really will help make this and help you with the shading. When we get to shading, if this is all shaded and everything, it really makes a big difference too. It just might just add little spheres on the end of these, and it carries on that sphere design a little bit. But that's kind of, you know, I think he needs to come down in a little fatter right where he attaches. But that is one way to use the three basic forms together. And I very much thank you for watching, and keep watching for more. Okay, thanks.